I don't know how this song actually goes.
Hi, everybody. It's been a while. Welcome back to another Ugritone podcast. Joining me is Mr. Aaron Cloutier, all the way from New Jersey, and my name is Rondy Rock, joining you from home. So it's been a while, and there's been some changes, I would say, for the better in our society. There's still probably a lot of things left to do before we can press the everything's okay button. But today we're kind of talking about the topic that everyone's been chatting about to some extent over the course of last, should we say, 14 months?
Right.
Just rounded up to a little north of a year. And we were kind of contemplating on doing some more stuff about this, but now I'm like, let's face it, I used to be a big Debbie Downer throughout the winter, throughout the spring. It's just like there's no light at the end of tunnel, or at least the existence of the light was not displayed to me correctly. So it was kind of starting to date. Yeah, it's
a lot of uncertainty, a lot of just kind of like, all right, trying to get a grip on what's actually happening and trying to have some sense of some sense of control in this. It's been a huge time of uncertainty, right? So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, doing time, buddy.
Doing time.
Yeah, but today, I don't know, something happened for me where I started really feeling like this might be it might actually turn out okay. First of all, I got a shipment from a band who's been disbanded long ago, but they just reissued some new merch. It's called Security Threat, a band that hailing from, I'm going to take a wild guess, Turku, Finland. Great band. So the merch arrived today, and I set up a PA system today in my living room because we have a backyard kind of like an online music festival coming up in July, and so I usually like to get things done ahead of time so that when the time comes, all I have to do is plug and play. So I just for the shits and giggles, I set up the PA today and played some music through it, and just touching, the PA and plugging chords in some really perverted way kind of gave me a ray of hope, where it's kind of like meeting an old friend, after a long time. And it's like you could have kind of disagreed the last time you met, but then you kind of find the common ground again, and you just realize holy shit, we're friends because of this. And that's exactly what happened to me today.
Yeah.
While setting up the PA.
Yeah. I get that. I totally get that. And I was, as you already know, Ron, because I just said this to you before we started recording, but I was talking about how I felt that way when I started finally driving again after 8 years of not driving. Like when I moved to Jersey, I sold my car because I thought I was going to be living in New York and just being attached to all the whole transit system there. But then I moved out to more out west in Jersey, and then needed a car but didn't have one. So I kind of prepared for COVID life 10 years ago, of just being in the same places, not really going anywhere, being limited to where I could go and all that sort of stuff, and making the most of it, and then once I finally got a car, it was kind of emotional, and it was it was so welcome, old friend. It was even the same type of car too, so I was I'm so stoked.
Yeah,
she's still with me.
Interstate 9 o'clock traffic jam, where you've been all this time.
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's kind of and without going into politics or the science behind the COVID, but I feel like there's I mean, I was just looking at the concert announcements in the Detroit area the other day, and there's actually the calendar is kind of packed for the fall, and it looks like the DTE Energy Theater. That's like the outside amphitheater here in the Detroit area. They've kind of extended their operational or the season where usually the concerts wrap up the first week of October. And now they're going into like almost November. So I'm like, I mean, I guess there's some like pent up demand. So
sure.
You know, I guess people just like, I want to see anyone who's playing. I don't even care, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, you know, I mean, this might sound obvious, but that this seems like an incredible opportunity for bands who are ready, you know? And
yeah,
to those of you who are in bands who are not ready, like, dude, I mean, I'm sure I don't have to tell you.
Get ready.
Get ready, because it's gonna be intense. Yeah. Again, I was just telling Ron before we started recording that, like, I have a buddy who's up in where I come from, my native New Hampshire, and he's in a band, and he just played a show over the weekend at like some, you know, VFW hall. But I was looking at the video and it looked packed. It was just like, damn, good for you guys. They're a brand new band, you know, like they just started, and to have that kind of turnout, you know, and like, you know, VFW hall, I don't know what the capacity is for that, but you know, I would say
around like 500 maybe.
I don't know how many people are actually there, but the fact that like the video seemed like it was from kind of far back and you could still see people in the front and the middle, is just like, holy shit, man, like that's amazing. So, you know, now it seems like things are getting better. It seems like things are on the up and up.
Yeah, I mean, just like I'm a big sports fan. I pretty much watch everything NFL. That's like my number one. But right now it's the ice hockey. So just seeing the NHL arenas, well, except for the Canadian teams. But like I was just watching the Bruins Islanders the other night, and just hearing the real noise from the crowd. You know, instead of that, like last year's NFL, they would put like those little clips of audience through the PA, and it's like everybody kind of thought that was a bit freaky, you know. It's kind of like making what I used to do when I was a kid, when we had our like rehearsal tapes. So I would always mix like arena roar on top of the rehearsal tape, and then we would do like, hey, like, hello Cleveland, how the fuck are you doing, Madison Square Garden? What's happening? Okay,
so that's actually pretty cool. Like that's a cool idea for like a rehearsal situation, just to kind of like, you know, get hyped up and all that. But so just so I have it,
and by the way, I was the only one in the band who actually thought that way. Everybody else like, that's so whack. I'm like, well, how the fuck are you gonna learn to talk to the audience if you don't practice it, you know?
Yeah, man. Okay, I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking from the pure like psychological aspect of like trying to trick yourself into thinking like it's go time.
Yeah.
But
well, there's a reason why it's called a home field advantage, because would you rather have a crowd cheering or booing? You know?
Right. Morale. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So wait.
Why don't we? Why don't we just rewind things a little bit and come back to perhaps the glorious days of like reunion, March 2020, the month that at least here in North America the music died. Do you recall your last show before this whole pandemic happened?
Oh God. That's a good question. I had just
Danzig
moved.
95.
Definitely after that. I'm trying to think. It might have been Meshuggah. At the if I'm not butchering it in my memory, the Hammerstein Ballroom, I think, in New York. I think that was it.
In the city?
Yeah. I believe that was the last show. Like, I'm a grumpy old man, So it takes a certain kind of band to get me out these days. And Meshuggah is their show is so amazing that like I will always go to see, even if it's a rerun. You know, it's like it's my favorite rerun that I will ever see. But that's the thing with them is it's never a rerun. Like their light show is always improving. You know, the set list is always different, and it's like you're on an alien barge when you're watching them. So I like it.
Very true. Yep. For me, that had to be in the beginning of March. I went to it's a great venue called Sanctuary in Detroit, or Hamtramck, to be precise. But it was my buddy Zach Gibson's band Shit Life. They were opening up for Carnivore AD.
Oh wow!
And Sheer Terror. And
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing gig, but you know, it was one of those Thursday night. And I kind of like where I kind of want to go next is that I got the impression that because it was a Thursday night gig and we were still kind of living in that scene, like, well, don't worry about it. You know, they're going to come back to St. Andrew's Hall in 3 months' time. But little did we know that this whole thing kind of snowballed into something that wasn't just another, you know, flu in the China region, like the bird flu and SARS and all that didn't really shut down the entire country or countries or the world.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I might have it.
Hang in there.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I'm vaccinated. Yeah. But it kind of like there's no denying that I would imagine like the North American audience, like say you're living close to a major city, say like Chicago or the tri-state area in New York, who every tour crosses across those places, you know, that the people probably got a little spoiled.
Right. I definitely think so. Like, I mean, like what we were talking about in the maiden episode of this podcast, right? Like that. I mean, and I think that's just human nature, right? If you're constantly bombarded with like all of these options and all of this stuff, you're gonna take it for granted at some point, unless you make a point to, you know, be mindful of the fact of like, yeah, you know, this might not be around forever, but you just don't think about that while you're, generally speaking, you don't think about that when you're just living your life, right? Like I would wager most people don't think that way.
I mean, it's kind of say like mirror this into the world of sports. Like just say you have those season tickets for the Patriots, you know, you get to see all the home games, and I don't know if that includes the away games as well, but it's kind of like what's at stake if you get to see like every second Sunday, you know, I'm just gonna go there and get the skybox, right? You know, or it's kind of
to mirror that as a music instructor, which I am, right? And I have students that will, you know, call out last minute saying like, oh, you know what, something came up and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it's not that big of a deal to them because they've already paid for, you know, a select amount of lessons in a month. Whereas if the availability was only like once a month, maybe that would be perceived a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So like overabundance of things, you know, it's never good, but we've also learned throughout this 14-month period that I don't think this is the answer either. Like just not like, so your options for your entertainment are Netflix.
Right.
You
well,
know,
I mean, there's Hulu. There's I haven't really watched much Apple TV. Actually, you know what I've been doing? I don't know if you've been doing. I've been binging on YouTube, just like not looking up like handy how-to videos or anything like that. I've been like looking at the nerdiest shit possible. Like I did like a deep dive on the history of the Castlevania games. I'm just like, and I just stopped myself. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you?
And it's that, yeah. And well, when you watch that, then it's like that one Black Dahlia Murder song all of a sudden makes a lot of sense.
Oh, trust me, I knew that from the gig. Yes, I thought that was amazing that they titled it that. It's also, it just so happens to be an amazing song too. So that was just like, wow, wow.
And those of you who are not nerdy enough to decipher, we were talking about the song "What a Horrible Night to Have a Curse" by Detroit's own The Black Dahlia Murder.
Yes.
Which was that in the second Castlevania?
Yes. What was it? Was that Dracula's Revenge was number 3, I think. Oh, I gotta look it up real quick. Joe Rogan has his Jamie, but I don't have a Jamie, so I gotta.
Yeah. Well, had we had James Rolfe from Angry Video Game Nerd, the answer, you wouldn't be looking that up.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Just filling in some words.
So, speaking of Angry Video Game Nerd, I was just watching that last night, and well, I watch it every night. I'm curious because I've had this conversation with like a few people out there, and I'm just, if anybody's listening right now, hopefully people are. And if you are, I'm just wondering if you happen to be an Angry Video Game Nerd fan, and if you do the same thing, because I watch him every night for some reason, it just helps me fall asleep. Like, and I've had people like say the same thing to me. And it's like, what? I don't understand why. Cause like maybe it's the anger, and maybe I'm just used to being angry all the time. So it's like his anger is like, yeah, that makes me feel comfortable and like I can relate. And then I don't know what it is, but I wonder if anybody else knows.
Yeah. I actually have to say it has the polar opposite effect into me. I just get amped. It was I remember the time when he like came out in the golden days of MySpace. It was two of my favorite ranters. It was James and then this older dude. It was called a kid from Brooklyn.com. It was it's anything but politically correct. It's just ranting, but I like more of the character, just like not necessarily what he said, because I don't agree with a whole lot of it, but it was just like this old New York energy. Simplicity of the old New York, where it's like you just, and stuff.
It's a character. I get that.
Yep.
By the
Absolutely.
way, it was I think it was Simon's Revenge. I think it's Castlevania 2 Simon's Revenge.
Well, there we go. Now that is out of the way.
Yeah, I feel better. I feel that was important.
Yes. Less of a chance to get crucified for this.
So, yeah.
And, but yeah, now the probably the top thing about COVID that I like, it affected so many areas in everyday life, whether like music or not, or like economy, anything. Like, we're not going to go there. You got your Ron Pauls and Joe Rogans, they can cover that. But like there's a lot of harsh realities that kind of came to be after COVID. I personally, I realized that my work, on work, off work balance could not have been more skewed. I was probably working, I'm not even kidding, 11 hours on average, 7 days a week.
Dang.
I refuse to allow days off for myself. And eventually, exactly 1 year ago in June of 2020, I just burnt out. I spent the entire month sitting on a couch, barely playing Xbox, other than like checking the daily emails and stuff, and like the minimal maintenance. Right. But I just burnt out because my balance was off.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's inevitable, right? To crash like that. Just this, yeah. Can only do that for so long. I mean, you're a little bit younger than me, so you could still pull it off, I bet. But like, there's no way that I could right now. Like,
yeah,
I did it for like, like a couple of days in a row, like 12-hour days. But after that, I needed like a couple of days to recover. Just
yep.
I don't know. How do you do under those circumstances? Like, do you ever like notice any kind of dip in your productivity or your focus, actually, like more importantly? Because like I find that, after a certain point, it just there's a sense of like diminishing returns as far as like my attention and like my ability to actually be effective, so like I have to take breaks, I have to like walk away, I have to like cleanse my mental palate, or else the work is going to suffer. Like, do you do that at all? Like, do you resonate with that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had to force myself to learn that it's okay to take an hour lunch break and not just like have cold pizza and eat it, by your desk, right, while you're trying to record some drums or tune some snares, Right. I kind of like, I had no trouble walking out of the studio when I feel it's kind of like the same thing as like eating. Like if you keep like fasting all day, it's gonna irritate your stomach and it's gonna create like you can go on for a few days without eating. They've done that, and
right,
just as long as you keep drinking water. But it's like anything take it to the extremities, it's going to catch up. And it's like take like a 1 hour lunch break and just put like an old jazz record on and really take your time with making the lunch or dinner or whatever you do, and just kind of learn to shut your eyes and ears from the project every now and then, because if you don't, then you usually just gotta get yourself shit faced,
right?
But then the next day is gonna suck,
right?
And then it's just gonna add into it and snowball, and then you'll crash and burn eventually.
Agreed. Yeah, man. Like, I'm pretty bad, like in that sense of like taking breaks too. Like, I also have to incorporate, like, I guess the buzzword or buzzwords these days is a dopamine
safe
fast.
Safe word.
Pineapple.
Oklahoma.
Monkey wrench. What? No, just taking like breaks from the cell phone, right? I have to delete apps like multiple times throughout the day so that I am not tempted to use them. So that I like, if I catch myself in an elevator and I'm thinking like, oh God, this is too boring, this is not moving fast enough, I have to make sure that I'm not looking at my phone to try to entertain myself, because I'm like that bad now, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I feel a lot of people are probably in the same boat, just like, let the smartphone do the thinking for me. Make this phone only entertain me.
For me, it's just just an unconscious like thing now. It's just kind of like I impulsively or compulsively, both actually, impulsively and compulsively, just open up an app. I remember opening up Facebook while I already had Facebook open. like Jesus Christ, man.
That's like Googling Google.
Yeah. Oh, Carlin had a great bit about that. Did you ever hear that? He's like, one time I Googled Google. You know what I got? Everything. Great.
Good old George.
I want a George Carlin hologram tour. I want that happening. I'll go with that.
He could probably spit some harsh truth. He would not have been a fan of the current climate at all.
At all. Yeah. You know what? Maybe it took him to pass away in order for this current climate to depending on what we're talking about here, to
he would not have allowed it.
Yeah, man. I feel like he'd just be like, nope. Just put his hand out, and everybody be like, oh, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, COVID.
The word that is hopefully out of fashion come September.
I mean, honestly, man, I'm here. I feel
not
like
saying
I'm
that
less
don't
about it.
just forget. Yeah. Not saying that just like forget safety, but like the reason why we haven't really touched this is because I think we're both optimists. We might seem a little grumpy to certain peeps, certain peers, but I still believe you have to, it's belief. Like that's the only reason religion is still up, because people need to believe in something other than what's sitting in front of you,
Right.
Or I feel, something that the science can't really explain. The same thing with music, science can explain exactly this is why Let It Be is so happy, because it's based on the C major scale and it uses these notes, but that does not explain the feeling on like a what's the spiritual sense,
Right. It doesn't really, quantify or convey the feeling of, satisfaction or like fulfillment, right? Like you can't really convey your own personal experience with it too. But I don't know, man. That's what's weird too, is that like music is so insanely relatable and obviously universal. So it makes me wonder, like, it's actually kind of scary sometimes how common, certain reactions are. I mean, you take metal, obviously, right? There's this whole tribe of people that, are super into this music because of the way it makes them feel. And from the descriptions that I've heard from other people, it just felt like the exact same way it made me feel. Like, the hair on the back of my neck standing up, the goosebumps, the adrenaline rush, just this intense, just kind of high, right? And like, there's so many people that just come together who share that feeling. And yeah, man, I don't know where I was going with that. But
and once again, we're off track.
That's okay. I think tangents should be an ongoing theme, and probably will be, whether we plan for it or not. But yeah,
brain farts collection.
You were talking about COVID,
what is that?
And how it's impacted just everybody's kind of sense of control or lack thereof, right?
Yeah, they took our jobs.
Right. But like you were saying, though, like we both are optimistic, and it really is important to maintain, even if it's not a realistic sense of optimism. I think like having that is essential, because I mean, it's getting more certain now, but April 1 year ago, right? There's so much uncertainty going on, and it's kind of like, well, you don't have control about that outcome. So it's about, focusing on the things that you do have control of, right? So like starting there, like, what do I have control over?
Well, it's a basic like anger, denial, bargaining, acceptance.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know whether we're in the bargaining phase or whether we're in the acceptance. The only difference is that I think this is not like his anger, bargaining, all that's like a terminally ill, like the train of thought or the phases.
Right.
I don't think the world is terminally ill. You might get the feeling some days, but you can just don't watch the news. If it's not in your front door, it's not real to you.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not in your front door, there's only so much that you have personal control over in that situation. Like maybe you can make a donation to a certain cause or something like that, but unless you're going out on the front lines, whatever those front lines are, there's only so much that you can do. So
absolutely.
On that note, right, we have some things to talk about regarding that.
Yeah. So the gigs disappeared. Well, we know album sales and like the streaming all that, like that's been in the toilet way prior to the start of the pandemic. And the merch is kind of selling. I've certainly, a shipment of merch just arrived at my door today, but merch isn't the be all end all. Like
Right.
it's still the it's just kind of like buying a Mona Lisa t-shirt. You don't get, if you only go there to get the t-shirt and you don't get to see the Mona Lisa, you don't know what you're talking about necessarily.
Truth.
But concerts came and went. Now they're kind of coming back, but the virtual online shows that a lot of the bands did you ever, I think you mentioned something about Devin Townsend doing something.
His process was really cool. He started out with just like a really stripped down, homemade, kind of ghetto looking at home concert where he rigged up lights with like a video game controller and camera angles as well. Nice. Which that unto itself is amazing. I started to watch it and then I think something came up and I never got back to it. But if you have a creative guy like Devin doing something like that, then you're gonna be entertained. Like I remember seeing him when he was just doing an acoustic show and it was just him and his guitar. And it was super entertaining. He's just that. So if you see somebody like that, where they don't actually need a full band or anything like that, then it's good. Then he did a thing where he invested, it seemed like a ton of money because he had green screen. Oh yeah,
the green screen.
So you know that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he had the full band, right? And what made that work too is that he was doing, it was like a by request set. So that is brilliant, right? Because then he's playing all the old Strapping Young Lad stuff, and I remember getting goosebumps all over again from watching that, and just that to me was the closest thing to actually being at the show, right? Like that was cool. That was an immersive experience, but I can only imagine how much money he sank into that, right? Which I don't think everybody can do. But
then again, like when you compare it to like touring, it's anything but free. Like the startup costs to go on a tour, the second the first ticket stubs are counted at the first show, you're on the negatives.
Right. True. Very true. Very true. Yeah.
I guess the bus,
depends on what level
production,
you're at, right?
Yeah. But I would imagine like Devin Townsend, he probably invested less into the video concert than that just to get to the first stop at the tour would have cost them.
Definitely.
But that didn't really, for some reason, I don't think it got off as big. It kind of felt like the launch of like Tidal or Apple Music to kind of compete with Spotify. To me, it kind of felt like that, where it's okay, so this is and then the next bang just never. It's like, well, it's kind of like the same thing, but different.
I think it was a cool opportunity for like certain bands to get really creative with it. They had the whole pre-shot concert experience thing, which I haven't actually seen yet, but I remember hearing interviews. Maynard James Keenan was talking about. I forgot if he was talking about it for A Perfect Circle or for Pussifer. I think it was for Pussifer. Maybe it was both. But basically, it was like there was this really special like thing. It was during a full moon, so it was kind of like a once in that period of time opportunity to do a live show. So it kind of made it unique. I don't know.
Yeah, again, certainly. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like for if you're super artistic, there's guys who only, I just care about my music. I don't really care what kind of clothing I wear on stage. If there's like two banners, a big banner, two banners, what kind of lights, there's guys who just like to play. And then there's guys like Maynard James Keenan and like Devin, like, no, I want to have a say on the whole concept, you know, what kind of lights, what kind of angle, and, you know, I would imagine like the James Hetfields, you know, just like the our album cover is black because of certain things, you know, this is what I want to say. I want to have say over this. And then, you know, the whole like the stage setup and thing would kind of, you know, be
it would reflect that
symbiosis.
Right?
Yeah. So I understand like artists who have a really good sense of the overall concept, you know, probably thrive from, it's like, holy shit, like now I can actually make my own Super Bowl, like halftime show, like spectacle, make it epic.
Right.
But I can't really think of like too many that I don't like. It's kind of like a temporary measure, like, you know, like those like when the entertainers go to Iraq and Afghanistan to entertain the troops. Like they're not going to build a very big stage because they're not going to be there too long. It's just a couple of songs, signing autographs, shaking hands, you know, taking pictures, and then they're out.
Yeah, well, see, that's interesting because, you know, I've heard things that are encouraging about the whole like live stream concert thing. Like I remember I think Mark Morton from Lamb of God was talking about it because they did one too. I didn't see it, so I don't know exactly what they did, but he was excited because he felt that it was something that they could continue to do even when shows come back. Like it would just be like a supplemental thing, which I agree, man. I think that could be a really cool, you know, opportunity. And again, it's like, it depends on how creative you are with it and if you can make it unique and if you're that type of personality to do it too. So it might not be for everybody. I certainly would be curious to see like what the, random independent hardcore band would be doing for a live stream concert, right? Like, I don't know. I guess it depends.
I could kind of see like, I could kind of see someone like Converge, the band, or Integrity, you know, that has a really strong like artistic. It's not just about the music, but they're like Jacob Bannon and Dweet Hellion. They're both like artists, like complete artists. Besides being a musician, but like kind of put some art into it, you know. I'm still I've actually been speaking to Dweed about maybe making an appearance at our show, and we could probably talk about that when that day comes. Yeah, I know all the big people. But yeah, but like the thing with hardcore that kind of makes it so different from metal is that,
well, it's more inclusive,
one
right?
Day,
like it's just it's on a deeper level than most metal, right? Like metal's more of like an escape to me, but hardcore is more of like face reality.
Yeah. And because of that, I was watching a show of I think a friend of mine who they just recently started doing shows in New Jersey. I would say like around Newark. But the interesting thing was the camera was behind this, like a fisheye lens behind the stage, so you get to see the band and the audience. And I'm like, that's actually the only clever spot where you could put a camera in a hardcore show, because if you just point the camera, you're missing 50% of the action, because you're just not seeing. It has to be from where the mixing engineer sits or behind the stage, because it's the audience is just as important. They're like the second band.
Right. No, that's a great point.
That totally the sing-alongs and, you know, the stage pylons, the good old. I don't know if they allow to do that anymore. You know.
I wonder.
But I mean, while watching the Madball in the Tompkins Square Park, well, I don't know what you think of the whether the show was safe. I don't. It's not my place to discuss, but it just warmed my heart that they can't kill this thing. It's going to be. It's here to stay. It was built to last, and stage dives and everything. But it's.
Dude, there'll be like a new opportunity for merchandise where they're just hazmat suits, so you can just like don one and just do a hazmat pylon.
Yeah, it's true. And then if you kind of like going into like crust punk and whatever you want to anarcho punk, where it's like the GG Allen kind of took it to the extreme, right. But like that kind of like feces and piss and that kind of punk.
Hard to sign, but it's still available.
Chances are those shows could have been running all this time, but we had no idea.
Just running in sewers and basements and and closets and all that. Dude, I used to live down the street from a place called the Meat Locker, which I'm sure it's pretty notorious for like crust punk shows and just underground, and it's literally a basement, and you can see it as you walk over the street. You look down the sewer grating and you can see the venue, so it's like that kind of place. And yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if like tons of like covert Fight Club style just under the radar shows were happening in places like that.
Yeah, this is a scene from The Deer Hunter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm punk rock to the bone, so I respect that kind of scene.
I respect it too. I just know that I'm too old for it now.
My lust for comfort exceeds my willingness to really live some days.
Yeah, man, exactly. Yep. It's like, well, I don't know if you get like this, maybe not yet, but like for the longest time, if I stood up for longer than an hour at the show, I'd start like getting all the old man aches, like just be like, oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt, and then just be like, all right, so I'll go to the back now and fold my arms and just lean against something.
Yeah, you got to do DDP yoga, man. I've been doing it for a message from our sponsor here, but 9 months in, and I feel good as new. That probably shaved a good 7 years off my DDP. He's also from New Jersey. He might give you a state fellow man discount.
I wonder.
Yeah, but like I get what you're saying. Like I probably over the course of since I've been living in the Detroit area, I've preferred these like REO Speedwagon at Joe Louis Arena shows over the like the real deal, like Cold as Life playing.
Right.
I'm actually anxious to see them. Hopefully they get to reform and play some shows. That would be awesome. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening in the Detroit area will agree. But yeah, they're just so convenient. Just like going into there's a casino here on Windsor side of the Detroit River called Caesars Casino, and it's honestly the easiest show experience. I actually saw Meshuggah open up for Megadeth. It was 2017, I would have to say. And it's easy. You just drive your car into the free parking. You take the elevator that takes you to the entrance level floor. You go in. Sometimes they ask for your ID. Sometimes they don't. You go in, play a couple of rounds of slots. Just follow the arrows. Go to the line. Get grabbed and like make sure you're not packing.
Right.
And then you go to your seat, perhaps make a pit stop at the drink section. You sit down, and I've actually had really good luck just going to the shows. I usually sit down in less than 5 minutes, house lights off, intro tape, boom.
Yeah. The venue sounds awesome. I could definitely go for that. I mean, yeah. I'm still thinking about like the last show I went to. I still haven't actually I still don't actually know if it was what I said it was. Like, I know I was at that show, but I'm trying to think of like the actual, like if that's actually true, if that was actually the last show. Cause it's just, I don't know, man. It just feels like it's been forever.
You could just make something up.
Good. Yeah.
Let's see. Frank Sinatra, Madison Square Garden.
Frank Sinatra hologram, Madison Square Garden. Right on those like little bleachers. He was there. And yeah, I was trapped between a sea of people, and I was just trying to get to the Hard Rock Cafe. That's all I was trying to do. But I stayed because I couldn't move and was just watching Frank. Anyway. So, yeah, as far as like, where did this start from? I'm trying to remember where this thread came from.
From the pits of hell.
No, it was from like the Pits of Optimism, right? Like we were talking about focusing on what you had control over, and just I don't know, man. I don't know what's taught you. I definitely, without getting too bitter, it was just very telling about certain people, just like people in general, about like how they will treat other people in a high stakes situation. You get to see true character being revealed about certain people, and sometimes it's for the better and sometimes it's not. And I saw, a good deal of both. But, across the board, obviously, it goes without saying that like everybody was on high alert. So it was just super stressful. But it was a great, opportunity to really like put this whole, control what you have focus on, or rather the opposite, focus what you have control over, to put that to the test, right? So I don't know about you, man. I've got a few things that I could offer the conversation.
Absolutely.
Basically, I mean, and the whole thing, right? This whole conversation is meant to be centered around, or at least a portion of it's meant to be centered around like musicians and how they've been affected by this whole pandemic, right? And like, and my curiosity has been about what sort of opportunities they've discovered as a result of this, because, speaking as a musician, I've found a few that have worked out for me pretty well. It's still an uphill battle, but they were things that, again, allowed me to focus my time and attention and really just do to the best of my ability. So I wasn't getting caught up in, the fear mongering or the doomsday fatigue or, all that sort of stuff. And,
well, everybody, here comes the money.
The money, yes. Well, hopefully it's money to some. And like some of these things, some of you might know about, some of you might utilize these things, and some might be completely new. But these are things that I have experienced. And some of these things I've been doing pre-COVID, and then some have come up as a result of COVID. So the first thing I'm going to talk about as far as a resource for musicians and songwriters specifically was a company that was born probably, like a little over a year ago right when COVID was really starting to be a cause for concern. And they're a company called Song Glorious. And basically what they do is they write custom songs for customers based on their own personal stories. So it's kind of like, it can be anything from like a 30-second jingle to a 3-minute song. So, and then there's pricing that varies in those different, tiers, right? So, it's been crazy, man. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's super intense though. Like the idea behind it is like, their business model is centered around, we will create you a custom personalized song that you will, as they say, treasure forever. In 4 days. So it's like, as a songwriter, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, how am I going to do this in 4 days? But what's pretty insane is that, once, you jump in, you make it happen. And I recommend it for any musician who's, either been a songwriter or who is looking into getting into songwriting and getting paid for it. to like hit them up and just see if they're going to be hiring. I believe they're still hiring. I think there's about over 100 of us on the roster, and the genres, I mean, the genres right now are pretty, contemporary. It's like pop rock, acoustic pop, country, EDM, R&B, hip hop. They're supposed to be rolling out like classic rock, which was kind of like bordering on the lines of metal. I'm trying to get them to just like go to metal because I'm selfish and that's like what's easiest for me. But it's been hugely like educational too, as far as like stepping out of your comfort zone as a writer and exploring different genres and just building on a different set of skills that you can apply to like whatever music you were writing before too. Like I feel like it's made me a better singer as a result, because I've had to do stuff that I was like really embarrassed to do at first. And then it's just kind of like, you learn to get over yourself and just get through it. So Song Glorious, I think, is a really good opportunity for any musicians out there that's, looking to make some extra money. It's completely freelance too. I sound like this sounds like a commercial already. I'm not sponsored by Song Glorious. I just work for them. But that to me is a great resource for anybody to look into, and has been for me too, as far as just getting some extra income to supplement, like, because my primary source of income had been teaching music lessons primarily, and COVID definitely took the sickle to that and just chopped heads, and I lost a ton of students in the wake of that. So it's been really great to kind of offset those losses with that. So
that sounds like an interesting concept, because it's sort of I was part of it was more like composing for film and TV, and there was always like a checklist of like what they're currently looking for. But it was always like you'd be competing against like 150 200 people of that same composition. So it wasn't so much, you just kind of like the angle was more auditioning, so you already did the thing, which unfortunately didn't make the cut, and unfortunately you just worked for nothing.
right. Fortunately, like if you get the job, you get the job, so you're not auditioning. But you make a really good point. It's the same level of like competition. It's super competitive. So, you have to be kind of vigilant over your phone to receive the notification. I literally will get notifications for certain gigs, and if anything longer than 3 seconds goes by, I will likely lose it. It's like, it can be that intense at times. It's just like, good Lord. So hopefully they expand the genres soon, but it trains you to be like a cat, quick on your feet, like ninja skills. To me, it just sounds like that would be anyone like thinking of perhaps going into Nashville to become either a songwriter, just like joining a studio band, or anything. Just the amount of songs they have to do per day is insane. And that's like in Nashville, I'm not 100% sure how, but it's like the Nashville notation. So instead of notes, it's kind of like a custom where it's like the verse goes on this long, and then there, instead of chord names, it's like first, fifth, seventh. So essentially, if the singer says this is too low, this is too high for my range, they can just kind of, okay, capo to the fifth, capo to the sixth, capo to the third, and kind of just like compete. But that definitely sounds like that could get you started, and if you're good at that, you're probably going to do good in the Music City, USA. And just to piggyback on what you're saying right now too, and seeing as I'm not actually with Ugritone in the company, I can say this. So
Wait, you're not?
Well, like, not as much as you are, right? So like, I am to a certain degree, but like, I'm not trying to like make this a Ugritone commercial, but like it gives you a reason to use your Ugritone stuff, right? Like you have like all these drum samplers and your MIDI, and you're just sitting on it doing nothing. You're doing fuck all with it, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I can use these drum samples, I could use these tones, and I can make a song that will actually return on my investment that I put into it, you know? So yeah.
Hey people, make the money back,
because that's
join the Song Glorious.
I mean, I say that because that's what I've been doing. I've been doing stuff like that. I've been using all the tools at my disposal because, again, it's such a time crunch. They say it in 4 days it's due, but in reality, it's actually 3 days because you get it and it's like, okay, it's due on this date. They say it's 4 business days, but it's 4 days for the customer. So technically it's 3 days for us, the artists, to pull this off. So workflow is key in this case, right? So it prepares you for, you know, if you have a desire to work in a studio after this. But it's helped me step up my game as a singer, as a writer, as a mix engineer, as just, you know, workflow, like being more and more efficient, you know, refining templates and just understanding and how to explore different ways to create variety within a traditional pop song structure. Like, it's like, how do I make this different from the last 50 songs I wrote? How do I make this, you know, sound different structurally? And it's super fun. It's a super fun challenge. Anyway, and use Ugritone.
I mean, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
I'm just saying. I wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't.
Well, you're probably using Ugritone if you're listening right now.
And there's a reason.
It's certainly exactly.
Use Ugritone to write pop music because that makes sense.
No, you could.
You totally could.
All of the. There's nothing more like rapping over blast beat. Like, hey, wow. I'd like to hear that.
You just blew my mind. That's awesome. I particularly think that Ugritone drums would be great for country. Like the tones themselves, I just see it fitting, like, especially the kinds of like country songs that they're looking for in Song Glorious. I feel like they'd work perfectly.
Are they looking for that, like what they call country, but in reality it's just hillbilly pop? Or is that like
it's both?
Kenny Rogers?
I think they have both. They have like country and then they have like pop country. I think they have both of those genres. So I was thinking more of like the stripped down kind of, you know, real sounding, like it just.
So not like a butt light on a Silverado truck bed in my South.
More like a Johnny Cash, maybe.
Three things.
It's both though.
Yeah.
It's like it's both Johnny Cash and Kenny Chesney or whoever. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't listen to that.
Yeah. I find places and uses for there's a. I prefer the Kenny Rogers, Alabama, but if somebody plays Florida Georgia line, you know, it's nice sound. It's kind of like Blink 182 of like the country. Yeah, it's not very real, but it will get the job done for majority of people. And you're just going to be the odd man out.
Sure. So another thing to offer the audience if they're not aware with it, because this is another company that has been around for a good amount of years now. I think I've been with them since 2017. I think I'll have to go back, but it's a company called AirGigs. And what that is just a remote session musician service. So it's similar to something like Song Glorious, but it's a lot more open and based on what the client wants. So, you know, you can post anything up there. If you're a mix engineer, you can host your services. If you're a guitar player, singer, bass player, drummer, you know, voiceover, all of the above, right? It's kind of like all inclusive in that regard. And it's been great for me personally, just because I've gotten a ton of gigs over the course of the years. Over the course of the years, is that a thing? Anyway, just kind of passively. I passively have got these gigs. Like people would see my profile and be like, "Hey, blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Yeah," and I've been very lucky in that sense. And I think that every musician who's looking to add another stream of revenue to what they're currently making would do very well to check out a place like that, right? There's Spotify has their whole Sound Better platform, which is basically the same thing as AirGigs, but I don't really have much experience with it, so I can't really comment on how good or bad it is. But AirGigs they're great. And during the pandemic, they got really creative and reached out to a bunch of musicians and just asked some of us to contribute some writing to their website. So a lot of us did some blog posts for them, and they paid really well. So on top of that, though, they had they actually just rolled out a new service called micro lessons. Basically, it's just these 5 to 15-minute lessons in a variety of subjects for anybody to, if you buy it, you'll learn something cool in 5 to 15 minutes. And it ranges from everything to, let's see, I have one on drum programming. I have a beginner's tapping lesson. I have, like a really makeshift vocal production thing, and then other people have intro to Pro Tools or getting good vocal takes in the studio, getting a good bass tone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was another thing that was born out of necessity as a way of helping not only musicians but the company stay afloat. So and then the other thing that I'm sure you're aware of this one, Ron, is the Bandcamp Friday.
It's called Ugritone.
There's that too. Yeah. But have you heard of Bandcamp and Bandcamp Friday?
Yes.
So, to those who are not familiar with that, Bandcamp is an awesome alternative to Spotify, because I hate Spotify, and that makes it true. Because I'm kidding, I'm a little biased, but Bandcamp are great because they really are a great place for especially independent musicians to host their music. The payout is really good. It's just on you to get the word out and make sure that you have a fan base that will support you, right? But it's just way more rewarding financially than something like Spotify. And what they would do during the pandemic is they would have this thing called Bandcamp Friday, where they would waive their revenue share. So meaning that the artists would get 100% of sales of anything that was sold on these Fridays. And then they did it for, like, my God, I don't know how many Bandcamp Fridays they did, but I think it's still going too. I think there's one that's going to be happening sometime this month, and it's awesome, So
absolutely.
Those are the things that I've found.
Yeah, I think it's just important for everyone to kind of like I don't think I'm going to introduce the word aftermath just yet, but in the dying hours of COVID, hopefully, knock on wood, to ensure that, like, what's I'm hitting it blank here. You just gotta, when you're an investor, you gotta diversify your bonds.
Is that a Chappelle Show reference?
Basically, it is.
That's amazing.
It is actually
That's
from
awesome.
the Wu-Tang Financial.
Yep.
But basically, just like putting some of the eggs in a different basket, and kind of because it might only be this summer. There might be a 4th or the 14th and 150th wave coming our way. We don't really know that for sure. Common sense tells me that this should be it. If anything makes sense, if nothing makes sense, then we're probably going to be in this for forever.
It's certainly looking like things are getting better, though. So at least where I am and where I've, the places that I've kept in contact with, things are looking a lot better. They're starting to remove mask restrictions in certain places here in Jersey. Yesterday I was in Trader Joe's and then I just saw half the people not wearing masks, and I got mad for a second, and then I just started like, oh. So I like sheepishly walk up to the counter. I'm like, excuse me, can I do what they're doing? Like, can I do this too? Like, it's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, it just feels so weird. You know, it's like, okay.
It is in a way, like, like you get used to it so quickly, but you probably already also get used to just forgetting about it, when we go back to normal. But I think for me, like, where the real goal should be right now, it's like not to say like truck drivers and nurses and like their work isn't appreciated or it's anything but done, but I think right now it's like entertainers, those guys, like just getting people to go out and just kind of relearn to fraternize, like just learn the art of mingling, just like learn to how, like, this tribal sense of like getting to know your neighbors, all those things that make us human. And I was actually driving down the riverside, I think it was about a week ago. They just announced these rentable electric scooters. Everybody was riding one.
Oh yeah.
And
that's cool.
Then it was a week later, then the local newspaper, the comment section was just like, these guys are so irresponsible. It's like, hey, it's like it's life. You can lock us up and tell us not to do this, but it's like people just want to go to parks and just be with other people.
Yeah, so and there are smart ways to do it. That's like, as long as you're being, smart and you're not, there's way. I mean, like, I remember hearing a podcast about, I think Randy from Lamb of God was talking about how he was interacting with other photographers on the street in the heart of COVID and all that sort of stuff, because he's into photography and he's so. And he was just talking about, like, we were all just kind of hanging out and he was being introduced to new people's work and making friends and all that sort of stuff. But he made a point to be like, we were smart about it. We all wore masks. We all, kept our distance and, we made it work. And it's like, you can totally do that. A thing like that show in New York, though, makes me super nervous, if I'm being honest, because it's like, how many people, I just, without getting into it, it's just, I could speculate all day, and it's like,
you're talking about the Madball show and
yes, it's just like, I don't know how many of those people got vaccinated. I don't know, who might be asymptomatic. Like, it's like, how can you not have those thoughts in your head after all this time? You know what I mean? And hopefully it all is gonna, I don't know, hopefully it's all good, but I can't help but have those feelings about it, just because it's just I saw the crowd, like, they were all grouped together. So it's like, that's the exact thing that, will perpetuate COVID, whether people like it or not. It's like, and it's not to be non-empathetic to what you were talking about too, because, like, obviously, we all have these basic fundamental human needs of connection and communication and just like all that sort of stuff. It's like, I totally get that. I totally respect that. As long as we can find ways of being, smart about it, so that we actually do what we can to make COVID a thing of the past and not just elongate it and then just perpetuate this, this suffering that's going on. Like, to just put it plainly, like, that's why everybody's going crazy. It's like, So yeah, anyway, soapbox is being stepped down from now, and
Yeah.
but like I said, ultimately I see things on the up and up. Things seem to be improving. You know, I don't know. I don't know about other places in the world, to be honest. Like, I know India is things are not going well in India, I guess, allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't know about other places, but I mean, here in Jersey, things are starting. I shared an elevator with somebody the other day. I was like, whoa.
Look at you, man.
I know. It was like, and I was so excited too. And I think I freaked the guy out. I became like a puppy. I'm like, hey, this is the first time I've shared an elevator. And he was an older guy, and he's just looking at me like, yeah. They're like, okay, bye now, bye. And
yeah,
it's just like,
no, I mean, but to me, that's just it's a beautiful thing that people, I think the biggest, the thing that's going to take the longest to fix, I mean, people worry about the economy, like, sure, that's going to be one thing, but it's all wheezy woozy anyways. It's ones and zeros on a computer somewhere. Fundamentally, but the thing that is going to require some time to heal is just appreciation for another human being, and just like the COVID certainly didn't do a lot of good, like just like how divided the country was
right
during the 4 years of Trump, whether it didn't even matter which camp you believed in, or if you were like one of the people who just like, well, I'm not supporting any of this, you know, just like the independent, the Switzerland of like no comment people,
right? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, you kind of have to get into a situation where it's like, well, those fucking people that I didn't agree with in the first place, you know, no, they have to stay away from me, and the people that I like, I also have to stay away from them. So it's kind of like I'm thinking like kids' perspective during the Second World War. Right. Where it's like, well, why isn't Daddy coming home? Well, because he's fighting in sandy beaches in Normandy or you know, somewhere in Okinawa. And so it's kind of hard to explain, especially for kids that are growing up. You know, toddlers probably like, you know, like Brian May from Queen, their generation, Ozzy. You know, they were born during the war, but they were just too young to really understand what's going on.
Right.
But for a developing mind, and even like, you know, I'm in my early 30s now, and it's kind of hard to, like, I would have imagined like 10 years ago when I was like 20, all I cared about was partying and playing music. That would have been kind of harsh.
Right. Yeah. No, that would be devastating.
You just want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. And I can totally understand that. Right. And that's why it might be even harder for like a 20-year-old to kind of wrap their head around this too, because it's like, I get that too. Like, music was all I knew and all I cared about. I mean, and to a certain degree still is, you know, there are other things around it, but music is still
like partying.
Core. What's that?
Like partying.
Not these days. I can't. It's just my body won't let me.
Don't lie to them, man.
I don't, not for lack of trying, you know, like I try, I just fail now. I just fail at partying.
Passed out by noon.
Yeah. Well, you've seen me, dude. Like, I have my two drinks, and then it's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna ache for the rest of the week. Like, it's that kind of thing. But no, you make a good point though, as far as like the younger generation, and I mean, especially teenagers too. I've seen this a little bit with students. Just, you know, the shut-in nature of things, the sense of isolation, you know, combined with the hormonal imbalance of being a teenager, right? It's kind of like the Incredible Hulk dropped into a tank, submerged in the ocean. You know, it's like that.
Now that is an image,
right? Yeah, and that's got to be hard, right? And I still would go back to, like, you got to find something to focus on. You got to find something to do that, you know, whether that's painting or writing, reading, you know, learning a new instrument, or binging on video games, whatever, you know, whatever you can do to either have something to focus on that's productive, or have something to escape, you know, to either one. It's kind of like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
But you make a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like, prior to the pandemic, like, I was a workaholic, and still, like, I can be a workaholic. It's just, I know that you should wrap it up and continue tomorrow, so you're not, like, overfeeding yourself with the project. But for me, the escape was really either going to see shows in Detroit in the weekend, or just, like, take off and go somewhere in the woods of, like, West Virginia, go camping some place where it's, like, quiet and you can actually hear not just the crickets, but, like, all the other, like, frogs and, like, foxes howling in the night, you know.
Right.
Like, that was the escape. I would still be, like, drinking in there's nothing more fun than drinking in the forest in West Virginia. Trust me.
I believe you.
Yeah. I mean, you used to live in Kentucky, so you're kind of, like, used to the Appalachian mountain ridge.
Yeah. And
culture.
I grew up in New Hampshire, and I used to drink in the woods there, so I feel like I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nothing like being surprised by a grizzly bear.
That's never happened to me. I got surprised by police.
Equally as deadly.
I feel like yours is worse, though. Ugh, that's rough. Yeah. Shit, what were you saying?
And one silent.
I know.
No, just saying, like, need an escape, and like, I love being at home. I really do, but I also like to get away from home. And when you're really not, like, especially, like, like, I live really close. Like, I could probably fly a kite. Well, not exactly, but, like, who's ever been to Detroit and, like, to Hart Plaza and just kind of looks across the river, like, knows exactly, like, how close the city of Windsor is from Detroit. So I'm like a bus and bridge kind of Detroiter, living in Windsor. But it's like, the Ontario has been very strict with the lockdowns. I think closest equivalent in the U.S. would probably be California, like the San Francisco people and all the, like, restaurants just closed, completely closed. They're still not. They're only like takeaway only. So it's kind of like the conditions have been a little more harsh. The funny thing, right, like, I don't want to get into, like, what the Doug Ford government's currently doing right and what they're doing wrong, but right now I realize, like, I really need new shorts. Trouble is, Walmart's open right now, but the section of clothing is blocked off. And I'm like, how can that not be an essential item? Say, like, laundry day tomorrow, you, instead of doing laundry on Friday, you got drunk and you just started, drinking it, but being irresponsible adult.
So
then
for all
Saturday
you listening,
morning, you wake up and you make a pleasant fart, but it's unfortunately the brown one. You're out of underwear.
Oh no.
You can't go buy new one because they're, like, you can kind of sneak in there, but they just can't, like, even the self-checkout, like, they won't read those items. They just, like, please call the assistant, and then they will tell you that this is not an essential item. So
that's so bizarre.
If you crap your pants in Ontario right now. And
You got all
don't
kinds
have
of
any
problems.
spare underwear, you're pretty much out of luck, man.
So do they have diapers as an essential item? Because then
I
problem
don't know.
solved,
Like,
right?
I was just wondering this with my girlfriend. Just like, do they have like a Red Cross emergency underwear delivery? Say, like, you have to go to work and you don't have underwear.
Right.
You
Like,
know.
what if you had Crohn's, for fuck's sake? And like, you got like, what about?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I can order some from Amazon, but now they're also so terribly backlogged that if I would have to walk Donald Duck for a week until the case of underwear is gonna show up. So
oh man,
that's all I got to say
fair
about
enough.
what's going on. Please, underwear and socks and shirts and shorts and that kind of. I don't care if it's I don't even want the Walmart like AC/DC shirts. Just any one plain white or black shirt. Put that available in there.
Yep. Send all your information to Ron at ugritone.com, and he will give you the specifics on specific measurements and where to send it.
Yep.
That sucks, man. That's like, I haven't heard of that before, that they actually block sections off. Like where we have it, we have like directional arrows in which we are supposed to walk down this aisle and not the other aisle. We have to walk
which
around
nobody follows.
Right. Yeah. Right. I get like the bitter old man in me comes out where it's just like, why don't you just obey the rules? Like I turn into that guy in my head. That's why it's like, it's exhausting. Just like going to the grocery store.
It really is
exhausting.
Yeah. But should we wrap this one up? Some like final thoughts on, so Corona has kind of been like a challenge, but is there a possibility that this could be more of a blessing in disguise?
Well, I think it's important to look for silver linings. It's just because otherwise you're just going to be in the pit of despair all the time, just thinking like, it's all going to shit and all that. So this, like anything else, I mean, like, I feel like musicians are the most equipped people to be able to deal with COVID. You know what I mean? It's like, this is about musicians. And at the same time, if you're a musician in this day and age, like, you are a hardy, resilient motherfucker. Like, you just are. Like, you have to be, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be, you're also way more resourceful than you might even think, right? And it's just like, you just might not have tapped into that. You might have only saved that creative part of your brain for writing music, right? But like, if you apply that to other areas, right, you might surprise yourself, right? But I think it's super important to look for the silver linings. And what I'm personally curious about, to the audience, is, I just gave a list of like solutions that I've discovered over the course of the pandemic. I'm just curious as to if there's any other ones that I haven't mentioned that you have found that have been really helpful to you, that you think that more musicians should know about. Because
absolutely. Please let us know in the comments whether A, we should keep doing this show, and B, what kind of enlightenments you've come across throughout this trying time.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, like, what you just said makes total sense. Like, I was just thinking last night that a musician who has survived financially, say like 10 plus years solely on music,
right,
you have to be really smart with money, and you probably are really smart with money if you've managed to do that, because if there's waves, there's the height,
there's peaks
heights,
and valleys,
there's the rock bottoms. Yep. And
like you said, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You just can't, as a musician, especially in this day and age. You have to diversify. You have to find other avenues, right?
Well, if you're Metallica,
Well, no, I mean, like, for example, like I could teach, but I could also record, I can do voiceover, I can write. I make money doing all of those things, right? It's still under the blanket of music, but it's not just one thing in it, right? And then from there, you can think about, other things of like, I'm obsessed with like keeping it musical no matter what. Like I'm stubborn and just think like I'm going to make money doing music because this is all I know and this is all I want to do. I refuse to work another job to do it. So it just really forces you to, get creative. And anger is a great, great friend in that because it keeps you motivated.
Yeah. There's no denying that. And it's a must is the perfect muse.
Yes, exactly.
When your back's against the wall, don't be discouraged because that is, it's kind of using football terms. If you're like me, who really does not want Patrick Mahomes to win, but God damn it, when you put him under pressure, that's when he's at his deadliest. He always comes out with the way to come out on top. When you think they're just gonna sack him, he's gonna fucking throw it to Tyreek Hill, and it's a touchdown or a first down or something.
I'll take your word for all that. I don't follow sports, but I believe everything that you just said.
Yes, I do follow sports, maybe a little too much. Just when the ice hockey's out of the way, that's when the soccer starts.
Yeah.
And baseball is going on.
One of these days, I will like sports. I think. I don't know. I keep trying, but. I'm neutral.
Well, yeah, and I just recently won my NBA fantasy league.
Oh, nice.
I've never played NBA fantasy before. I don't really know anything about basketball, other than like LeBron James and Kobe. God bless his soul, and the Jordans. But somehow I managed to win, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's it for the episode number 2. Hopefully you guys found this informative, and wherever you guys might be listening to it, hopefully we didn't waste your time too much. We're trying to do our best to have a couple of I've been talking to some people that I know, and they've expressed either extreme or a keen interest to be featured on our podcast. And but we're just going to shoot a couple of episodes in, so we have a little bit of leeway when we're going to start doing some more. But expect this show to return very shortly. We'll be back with an episode number 3, and the final word goes out to Mr. Aaron Cloutier.
So, yeah, like I said before, let me know what alternatives you found to stay afloat as a musician during the pandemic, because I would love to hear all that. And yeah, just don't be shy. I
Soldier Boy, tell him.
Yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. I think it goes without saying, Ron and I both feel like we want this to improve, and we intend for it to improve over time. So we hope you stay tuned. And I think that's all I got. Nib High Football rules. Is that? Yeah, I'll say that. Nib High Football rules.
Go Patriots.
Yeah.
Red Sox. Bruins.
The Bears? The Bears.
The Chicago Bears? Yeah,
sure.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm neutral. Anyway, so yeah, I guess
you will not see us next time. You will most likely hear us the next time.
Yes. So hear us next time. All right.
Adios, amigos.
All right. See ya.
Peace.